How do you evaluate your different offerings? What type of metrics do you use? What type of research do you do on them?
It's a great question. The most interesting thing for me coming into a build company is how we use measurement and ROI as, not only a differentiator for the business, but something we give to our content and contributors, like our photographers or our videographers, or the producers who give us content for brand integration, or our brands. And basically the way we look at it is we're the liaison, the middlemen, between those content providers and the brands and the publishers. And our job is to make sure the data that is in the hands of who's using, who's following, who's watching, where it's been used, all that is shared with our contributors in order that we can be creating a virtual circle and a loop to give them the best feedback on what other things we need. So for example, on the image business, if we know travel pictures are used more often, or if we know hospitality or a certain type of genre sells very well, whether it be in the media space, the brand space, or the agency space, we're going to want to get more of that content in the door because we're then providing them obviously more revenue as a client. On the other side, on the integration side, we've made partnership with some of the biggest agencies in the world, Nielsen, Cision, ComScore, a company called C4, which used to be the Motion Picture Group, so that we can evaluate the integrations we do, whether it be GM's Camaro and Transformers or Xbox in Big Bang Theory, and what did that actually do for the brand? How did it move the needle in terms of purchase intent, affinity, and recall? How many impressions were, what the demographics were? And many people have used, in the entertainment side, entertainment has been more of a gut feel. It was the right script, or felt good to the CMO, or there was an opportunity and somebody called and they made a marriage. And what we're really trying to do at Corbis is put data and science into the mix and really create algorithms and a defensible policy of how that will really improve the bottom line for a brand.
Can you give us more information about these algorithms? How are they developed? How much is quant? How much is qual?
Well, first we have a lot of really smart people, way smarter than me, who really look at the 25-year history of doing integrations that we've had and what have been the metrics that really move the needle. So is it the cast? Is it the distributor? Is it the time slot? Is it the social media now, the scores, their Twitter followers, their Instagram followers, their Facebook followers? What are the composition of the data points that really help us articulate whether an opportunity on a prognostication standpoint has a really good chance for success, or on the back end, what were the drivers and the movers on the needle that really helped a brand? So we've created some interesting formulas, which I can't really talk about, totally proprietary, but think about it as if you have a certain amount of the factors, it will give you one score. If you have less of those, it'll give you another score. And what Corbis and what we call the Branded Entertainment Network, BEN, which is the integration tool that we've created in Marketplace, we're really trying to become the measurement experts and be seen as sort of how Nielsen is seen to the television industry. We want our BEN product eventually to be able to be the gold standard in terms of measurement because we've created the marketplace and the algorithms.
Give us more details about the BEN product.
So BEN is our internal moniker for the Branded Entertainment Network. And the Branded Entertainment launched to big fanfare in May of 2014 at the New Fronts. And the idea was to bring scale and efficiency and measurement to the media agencies for doing brand integration. Typically, a media agency gets pitched by Viacom or Turner or Fox or any of the individual networks or Hulu or Crackle, anybody, lots of people, on a one-by-one basis. And what we did is we aggregated all of their content into one portal, BEN, at productplacement.com. And in that portal, we have more than 1,000 pieces of content that we're the third-party resource for those companies to help identify them and bring them to the media companies in a way that they're used to working. So looking at it on a CPM basis, looking at it on a flight basis, looking at it in terms of how your brand would be integrated into that content. So, and then we measure it on the back end. And so We launched that again in May of 2014. It's grown. We've put together a tremendous sales force and team here around the United States. Eventually, we plan to bring it on a global basis. But Ben is our way of really bringing data and science into the brand integration space.
Are there cultural differences within the United States, and now that you're going global, do you get a sense that there are international differences by populations?
So, that's a great question. So, I've been doing, as I mentioned earlier, integration for 25 years. And probably 10 years ago, box office on a global basis, which is like an Olympics, one brand per film. You take a Bond, you take a Mission, a Bourne, these big global properties. The box office used to be, 10 years ago, 70% domestic and 30% international. And the premieres were always in Hollywood or New York. Now the premieres are always in London, in Seoul, in Moscow, in Dubai, in Venice, and other parts of the world. And the box office is reversed to 30% domestic and 70% international. So we're very conscious of, in terms of brands, that we have to look for global brands that are represented around the world, and what the customer basis and differences are, from a cultural perspective all around the world. Will a film play and will the brand fit in the right way? Brings us to coffee being very different in America, Folgers versus a Lavazza, or an Ely or an espresso. Just you take any category, and what it says about the characters is very different. So we do, in our team, in our content integration team in LA and New York and in London, we spend a lot of time really figuring out the dynamics of what's the right brand based on sort of the cultural points, particularly if it's a global film that's shot around the world. And the other comment is in television and digital, it's global day and date now, meaning. And day and date is a terminology we use in the industry that pretty much when CSI Cyber starts in America, it's also appearing in London and also appearing probably in Australia and other English-speaking territories. So that integration that you do, you have to look at from a global perspective versus just a smaller brand here in America.